Welcome to the Dr. Gundry podcast. You've probably heard me say it before, but sometimes true health comes from the foods you don't eat. Unfortunately, some of the most dangerous foods out there are also some of the tastiest. But going lectin-free doesn't have to mean missing out on your favorite foods or eating the same thing over and over again. In fact, my guest today says that she adopted the lectin-free lifestyle for her autoimmune condition, but she stayed for the food. I mean, can you imagine? That's right. Her name is Kristine Wylie, aka the Lectin-Free Gourmet, and she's a recipe blogger, an e-cookbook author, inventor of Lectin-Free Gourmet Sourdough, and the creator of the world's first and only lectin-free food box, which my wife and I love, by the way. So today we'll discuss how you can pursue your hobbies full-time and share some tips for making your life on the program easier and more delicious. Kristine, it's so great to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you, Dr. G. What an amazing introduction.
Well, we have followed you and your passion religiously, and I wanna talk about how all this started. You know, you have had a rare autoimmune condition that was particularly troublesome. Can you tell us about your health journey and what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't set out to become the Lectin-Free Gourmet. I mean, that definitely wasn't my goal, but I started out with a weird nail condition. And, you know, I never had long nails, but I was a violinist growing up and I just never had long nails. And one year, it was about maybe 7 years ago, I decided to get acrylic nails because I thought, oh, what would that be like? And big mistake. You know, that tool that whirls around on the nails, and they hovered around one spot too long and burnt the crap out of my fingernail. And that was the trauma that triggered it. I got psoriatic nail. And the reason why it's rare, I mean, psoriasis isn't really rare, but the reason why it's rare is that apparently only about 5% of people only present in their fingernails. Usually, I'm told it is accompanied by really bad psoriatic arthritis.
True.
Which I did not have, thankfully, but still, the nails were hideous. I mean, this was a contagion. The one that was affected and had the trauma got all pitted. The cuticle disappeared. The skin receded. I got inflammation all around the nail, scaly skin, and then it was a contagion. All my nails except 2 were affected. And I just couldn't lick it. And the other thing is nobody could diagnose it. Everybody thought it was a fungal infection. And so I kept, you know, treating it like a fungal infection, and it just wasn't.
So you put creams on it, or did you take a systemic antifungals, or what happened?
I was putting creams on it. I got diagnosed by one dermatologist, and he was so proud of himself. He had compounded his very own proprietary liquid concoction that had been in a study, and he was, you know, pushing it on me. So I was putting on, it was just making everything worse. It was just, you know, inflaming. My nails looked terrible, and I was walking around, you know, with my fingers tucked under. It was hideous. And I'm not a big glamour girl, but it was a little embarrassing.
So what prompted you to try going lectin-free?
Well, you know, this is a really funny story, and this is going to be an unrelated answer, but I'll bring it back around. So
all right.
The misdiagnosis, several misdiagnoses, finally, I used to do a lot of Botox, okay? like a drug. Like, that's why I say I did Botox, because I did a lot of Botox. I don't anymore, but I used to. And my Botox doc, who used to be an internal medicine guy, they know everything. He diagnosed me. He figured out what it was. And he's like, this is what you have. And so then once I knew what it was, then I went online. I'm a big, reader. My dad was a anatomy professor at the University of Minnesota, and a dentist, pioneering dentist, did all the first osseointegrations. And so I have a little bit of a science brain, even though I have an art degree. But I love to read scientific research. And so I was on, Googling psoriatic disease and trying to find answers once I knew what it was. And of course, I stumbled across you on NIH.gov and some of the lectin research. And I just decided, well, what the heck? Can't hurt to go lectin-free, right?
Right. So what was your diet back then? And, were you typical American diet, or you were eating really healthy, whole grain, the whole bit?
I like to think that it was healthy. I mean, I grew up in Minnesota, meat and potatoes. My mom was a big co-op food person. She always made granola, made her own bread, and we had stacks of prevention magazines in the toilet to read. We never used margarine. I mean, I thought we were pretty healthy. But meat and potatoes, Land O'Lakes, top potato, Old Dutch potato chips, I loved all that stuff. Lots of dairy, lots of cheese. Oh my gosh.
So you started this program, and what did you notice?
So right away, literally within the first week, all that inflammation around my nails in the skin area, like it was all red and inflamed and scaly, all that just shrunk and went down immediately. This was within the first week that I just cut out lectins. And I thought, by golly, I'm onto something.
And then your nails started looking better. Nails is a long process.
Nails is a long process. And as it turns out, as I look back on pictures from 2 years ago, I started in July 2018. And, it like your paper said, it only took about 9 months for everything to kind of come back and heal itself. Just with food, really just with food. But then I started finding other things, like I wasn't totally satisfied with my nails. Like the pitting and the cuticles were still not there. The cuticles didn't grow back. And so I kept searching. Supplements really helped: vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, silica, biotin. I know you're not a huge fan of collagen, but I do take collagen, and I do notice a difference in my nails and hair. Might be the biotin, I don't know, but I still take it.
That's okay.
And, magnesium, there's certain supplements that really, really help. So supplements. Then I stumbled across a study by Dr. Lin, a Chinese doctor who did a specific psoriatic nail study with just so dumb. It's so stupid. It's so easy. It was lindy oil. He made a lindy oil with indigo naturalis and olive oil. I mean, how easy is that? So I took the Gundry MD polyphenol rich olive oil, a tablespoon of that, and a 1/4 tablespoon of indigo naturalis herb. It was powder that I found. It's the same stuff that they dye blue jeans with.
Yeah.
And I mixed that up and painted that on my nails for 2 weeks, twice a day, and my cuticles grew back.
There you go.
There you go, boom. But also, here's the sad part. And this was maybe harder than giving up lectins. I had to give up dairy. This Minnesota girl had to give up, from the Land O'Lakes, had to give up dairy. Because dairy and psoriasis don't mix. Sorry. Sorry, everybody out there with psoriasis, but try giving up dairy.
Yeah, we do a lot of specific dairy protein testing on some of our more mischievous patients, and there's very strong reaction to even casein A2, even to whey in so many of my psoriasis patients. Not everybody, but certainly a good number.
Yeah, and I was enjoying all the A2 dairy. I love goat cheese. I love all the French and Italian cheeses, and dang it, I can't have them anymore.
No, I do, some of my, in my reports, about 94% of people resolve their autoimmune condition with just the plain old plant paradox. But my practice through the years now, I get the ones that don't make sense to anybody. They've been to 7 universities and they still got their autoimmune disease. And they do better on my program, but they're still not there. And so we do a lot more quantitative food sensitivities. And dairy, all forms of dairy, is a lot of the problems. Eggs is a lot of the problem for some of these real troublemakers. And then I may have to do a whole podcast on interesting things I've learned from food sensitivities. So, I still enjoy eggs.
I raise chickens.
Yeah, now eggs, and eggs, again, these are some of my most mischievous people.
Yeah, and I've learned to love non-dairy coconut yogurt, Coco-Yo with the fizzy kefir, fermentation, and some of the Kite Hill stuff is great. There's some good non-dairy stuff out there.
Yeah, and I'm quite a fan of lava yogurts now, LAVVA. So try those if you haven't seen them yet.
I haven't seen that.
They're based on pili nuts.
Yum.
Yeah, so it's a good option. All right, but let's talk about your recipe blog, Lectin-Free Gourmet, aka LFG. So you started blogging fairly early. You popped up on my Instagram and went, well, who's this person?
And who knew LFG was going to be cool until Tom Brady hashtagged that one. Did you notice that?
That's right. So where does the inspiration come from?
Well, everywhere.
I mean, you obviously were a Minnesota girl, so I mean, did baking and cooking come naturally to you?
Yes. My parents were both amazing cooks. We had a restaurant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so food was always in the mix. And we traveled everywhere, and street food and, fine dining, and Food and Wine magazine's one of my favorites. I get a lot of inspiration from that. So, I mean, the contributors to that magazine are up and coming chefs, and there's always, I'm always staying on the trends with that magazine. So I've got a lot of posts around copycat recipes that I've made lectin-free.
Yeah, so that brings up an interesting point. So I subscribe to, a lot of these magazines. And it's great, if nothing else, bathroom reading material. But so tell me, doesn't that frustrate you? You go, oh my gosh, look at this great recipe, look at all these great flavors, but there's no way I'm going to ever have that.
No.
So help us through that.
Because Dr. G, your yes list is an infinite permutation of possibilities. That's how I see it. I see it as dare me, just dare me. I can make anything lectin-free because that list is vast.
It is. In fact, my my patients, when I show them the list, or, new patients, they go, well, there's nothing I can eat, because I show them the no list, and they go, well, wait a minute, there's nothing I can eat. And then I show them the yes list. I said, I'm going to be honest with you. I actually have not personally gotten through my yes list yet, and I've been at this 20 years. There's a couple that I just, I don't incorporate them into my diet. But I said, there is no way you can't find something to eat, and a lot of things to eat on this list.
Yeah, there's so much, and just combining things, and my scientific brain kicks in, and I say, I can take that over here and this over there and make this. So it's just crazy, the possibilities.
I think that's really exciting that you've done that. In my first book, I have a very good friend by the name of Tom Guy. And Tom Guy said, look, the menu at a restaurant only tells you what the chef's got in the back. Right. And I think that's a great point that you're starting with. Look here's my palette of colors that I get to paint with. And nobody tells you how to mix this palette to get something. Yeah.
Nobody can tell me that that's limited, because that is not limited. There's, like I said, an infinite number of ways to combine everything on that list.
Do you remember? I could look back. What were some of your first recipes that LFG shared on Instagram?
Oh. Way back. Okay, so probably, the first recipe that I shared after I showed a picture of my hideous nails was Asian sticky ribs. And then granola, which became this crazy, gotta have it. Now I sell it in 6-packs.
Which is fabulous, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Sushi, I did beets. I mean, how much fun can you have with beets? Beet mole, beet Wellington, beet poke, and all kinds of Japanese food, beef sukiyaki and tempura sushi rolls, tempura lobster sushi rolls, egg tamago nigiri, salmon niçoise, and wild grouse with shiitake sour cream sauce. There's just so many.
Stop.
Stop.
I'm getting hungry. So at what point did you realize your recipes could help people all over the world support their health? I mean, were people writing you? Were they?
Pretty early. I mean, I could tell, you see out there's a lot of repeat, and egg roll in a bowl gets a lot of love, and people are making the same stuff over and over, and they're great recipes, but mine were original and different and leveled up a little bit, gourmet, and I was still lectin-free, so it was people were like, how are you doing this? Like, where can I get this? Gimme, I need this recipe. And or can you just cook for me? And I had actually an offer to go cook for a very famous person, and I ended up not doing it. But that wasn't. I have kids and all that, so it was not going to work. But people wanted my food.
So you say that gourmet foods are what separates the lectin-free eaters from the lectin-free cheaters.
Oh, totally.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, just like any diet, and I hate to call this a diet because it's really more than that. It's a
lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. It's a movement. But just like any restricted diet, the food has to keep evolving and getting better, and you have to have the foods that you crave, or you're gonna cheat. I mean, you can have the same things over and over and over again, and pretty soon you're bored and you're like, what can I do? And if you're not a recipe creator, you're going to be at a loss. You're going to reach for a Big Mac probably, or a bag of chips, or, because you want that. People want that. We're gluttons, right? Admit it.
True.
So, yeah. So, and people have so much emotion around food. Like, oh, if only I could have a croissant, well, you can, because I figured out how to laminate my sourdough. So, yeah. So I just keep inventing and creating things and having all of the things that I miss, so that other people can have it too. Because if you have those foods available, you're going to stay on it. You're not going to cheat. You're going to keep eating lectin-free.
Yeah, and I think, thanks to people like you, and I mean this huge movement, which truly it is a movement, you're empowering people that, this is not so much giving up stuff. Look at all this, great stuff that you've never eaten in your life, and, look what's happening. And we're beginning to see, I mean, even in stores where we're seeing, I mean, who would believe that you could have, commercial cassava pasta or commercial sorghum or millet pasta. I mean,
yes.
and people are, making attempts, and sometimes the initial attempts are okay, but then you see it evolve. Like yourself, your passion is bread. And I mean, come on, what the heck is a laminated croissant? I mean,
oh well, laminate. So you laminate dough, you roll it out, and you put butter in, and then you fold it in like exponentially, so that it becomes layers and layers and layers of flakiness. And it's much harder without gluten, but it's achievable. And I have opened the door for croissants and anything with puff pastry, Wellington, so it's all possible. And it's really not even that hard. It's just somebody had to figure it out.
And you did it.
And I did it. Because challenge me, just challenge me.
I think this is really fascinating. I grew up in Omaha, near Minnesota, and my mother she was addicted to Julia Child and addicted to Gourmet magazine. And so I was in the kitchen with my mother all my life, and you brought back memories, because we did a lot of, pastries and layered. I know exactly what you're talking about with the multiple layers of butter. And we would actually, our family would go on Gourmet magazine tours, where my mother would say, okay, here's where Gourmet magazine went in Tuscany and Emilio Reggiano, and we're going to do it. And we'd fly over there, we'd rent a car, and we'd duplicate the Gourmet magazine tour. So I'm sitting here reminiscing, saying, wow, no wonder she got she has this great talent for this. So I guess you can thank your parents, huh?
Yes, definitely. And interesting about that, my dad passed away in April of 2018, and I just shortly started the lectin-free diet after that. And it really wasn't until he passed that science in me started kicking in. Like I don't know what it was. I mean, I don't know what you believe, but I don't know what it was.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's very true, but that's another subject. Okay.
That's a whole nother podcast.
All right, so now you're shipping meal kits and prepackaged snacks to doorsteps across the country. So tell me, I mean, from being a blogger and getting called out by Tom Brady, given a high sign. So how do you go from that to making this a business?
Yeah, I mean, with all the resources and free recipes and 3 cookbooks and all the advice, I mean, I even have a sourdough hotline. You can call me anytime and I'll give you advice.
Wow.
People still want me to cook for them. Just make it for me. And so, my whole goal is to make people's lectin-free lives easier. And like I said at the beginning, I didn't start out to be, anybody's anything. Lectin-Free Gourmet or your cook or a money-making venture with the foodie boxes. I didn't start out. This has all happened organically. I'm not trying to create or do anything. I'm just answering calls. I'm just answering requests. And people just kept saying, "Oh, can you just send me some of your granola?" And so I started doing that. And it just turned into this big, filling orders. And so now I've got this seasonal food box, the LFG foodie box. And each season I create 8 items. You always get granola. You always get a big bag of flour to bake with and to use my recipe blog. You get pancake mix. You get a pasta kit, featuring the big green organic millet pasta that I'm on the side of their box. I mean, I didn't ask for that either. It's just everybody's coming to me, which is a nice way to be, I'm not struggling I'm not like trying to, fight my way to the top or anything. It's just happening. You get like mug cakes are great. You get some kind of jiggly fun dessert in there. You get a cookie mix. So it's like in a drink mix. So, I mean, every season it's something fun, something to look forward to. And I do remind everybody, gosh, these are treats. Eat your salads. Eat your greens, eat your veggies, eat your roots. These are treats because there's a lot, there's a lot of carbs in there. There's a lot of starch in there. There's a lot of sweet taste in there. So, it's not something to live on. It's not meal kits per se, but, it's something that is designed to make your lectin-free life easier and to reward yourself with good tasting food.
I want to go down on that a little bit more. Obviously, with COVID, we've had huge amounts of disruption of jobs. Tons of people are still without a job. And I've been on other podcasts and we've had guests on this podcast. Is this a time where it's time to take advantage of what life has offered you rather than thrown at you and do what you love? And it sounds like you're finding success in doing what you love.
Yeah, the really funny thing about that whole COVID thing and what I'm doing is back up to last September, last Labor Day, I launched my magnum opus, which was my e-cookbook on sourdough. I'll send you a copy. I haven't sent you that yet. But
I'd love it.
It nearly killed me making all that sourdough and all that bread. But who knew that was going to be, sourdough was going to be the viral hobby. And those ebooks are just selling like hotcakes. And then I started the foodie box, before COVID. And then it turned out people really needed food delivered to their door. So, I mean, those were just 2 lucky breaks that I got. Or not, or maybe it was just what I was meant to do. And
exactly.
The grace of God, he led and lit the path for me. But I am doing what I love, and it's so easy when you do what you love. It doesn't feel like work at all. How did I publish 3 cookbooks in a year? like, who did that even? I did it because I love it. It wasn't work at all. So, and I go into the kitchen and I make food and I, pack up boxes and I write love letters to everyone. And it's just, it's not work.
Very good. What do your kids think about all this? Do they help you in the kitchen? How old are they?
I have a 13-year-old and a 20-year-old.
Ah.
And my 20-year-old she's a hard-working little thing. She comes in and she takes over. She knows what to do. She tapes up all the boxes and, fits everything in there like a puzzle and wraps them up real nice. And she's great. My son, he's not as hardworking. He's more of an athlete, and he does like to eat, though. And so a lot of the recipes I make, he's got a very discriminating palate, and, he won't eat it if he knows it's the first thing he asks is it lectin-free? And I'm like, oh, no. Of course, everything I make is lectin-free. So, but he's my taste tester. So he doesn't know he's working for me, but he is.
Oh, very good. It's interesting. We have so many families who the kids really become the policemen of the family.
Yes.
And say, is that lectin-free? I know my two grandchildren do that to my daughter and her husband all the time. It's like, are you sure that's lectin-free? We're not going to eat it. This is a 7-year-old.
Yeah, they won't even taste it.
Yeah, better be. All right, now, I was talking about job insecurity and no jobs. People may not have the money to spend on food boxes, or maybe they want to do shopping and cooking for themselves. So what kind of cooking tips can you share with our listeners today who are learning to make any of their favorite recipes safer to eat?
Yeah, well, I keep it simple. I certainly am capable of cooking anything, but if you're not, just keep it simple. You don't have to go out and buy all the fancy ingredients, and just keep it simple and keep it what you like. And there's all kinds of resources out there too. There's all of the Plant Paradox books have fabulous recipes in them, easy recipes too. And there's Gina, Lectin-Free Creations. There's Claudia. There's Creative in My Kitchen. There's Autumn, Lectin-Free Mama. There's Clean Colorful Life, Jenny. Her stuff is great. Love her. And free recipes on my blog, my e-cookbooks. There's so much out there. And if you're just willing to accept your fate that you are going to have to cook. If you want to stay on this plan, you are going to have to cook. That's just a fact. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
So are there any kitchen must-haves for Plant Paradox followers? I mean, what should you have in your kitchen if you're going to set it up?
A pressure cooker, duh.
Yep.
That opens up all kinds of possibilities. Beans you can have. That takes the beans off the no list and puts it back on the yes list. And tomatoes, and an occasional white potato even.
That's true.
Yeah. So get yourself a pressure cooker, for crying out loud. And if you're going to do the lectin-free gourmet sourdough, get a stand mixer. They're not very expensive, and they really, really help with the dough.
With a dough blade.
Yeah, with a dough blade.
All right, so besides checking out your blog and delicious recipes, what advice can you give Plant Paradox newbies for sticking with the program and finding success?
Yeah, don't deprive yourself.
Good advice.
I'm not saying cheat and go eat a burger, or I mean a Big Mac, or a cookie full of gluten. But if you're craving something, there's 100% guarantee you there's going to be a recipe out there for it. Like, I have In-N-Out Burger secret sauce. I mean, you can have really anything you crave. Just call me, find a recipe. I've got it for you probably. My website's a veritable encyclopedia of cooking. I mean, if you're looking for it, it's probably there. Between all of us bloggers, we probably have it. And keep it simple, really.
And people can really phone you now. Be careful, because lots of people are going to hear this podcast and see this podcast.
They do. And I don't pick up the phone if it's a number I don't recognize, but if they leave a message, I call them back.
There you go.
Anybody will tell you that.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you. And just in case, tell everybody the website.
Oh, yeah. It's www.lectin-freegourmet.com.
Just like we've been talking about, but you'd be amazed. People go, they never said the website. All right. Now it's time for our audience question, but every now and then we let you give the question. So you've got a question for me.
Yeah. So Dr. Gundry, since I started being the Lectin-Free Gourmet, unfortunately, people come to me for medical advice. And I tell them, I'm not your doctor. I'm your recipe developer. Go see a doctor. You have cancer? Go see an oncologist. So I know this is a rhetorical question, and I actually even know how you're going to answer this, but I really want you to say this. And I know you've said it before, but is the lectin-free diet supposed to replace medical treatment?
No, not at all. I mean, Hippocrates said, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. And he said all disease begins in the gut. And, the longer I've been doing this, the more I realize he was absolutely right. And if nothing has taught us anything about COVID, we should now know that a chronic disease which sets you up for COVID, increases your risk, is merely a disease list of conditions that are caused by leaky gut and gut dysbiosis. But having said that, you're right. You can control almost all of your fate with food and proper eating, but it does not take the place of having a personal physician that you can identify with. One of the reasons so many people eventually end up in my office is for instance, let's use your nails. They've been to 5, 6, 10 physicians who either don't believe you or can't find the reason and then really aren't very interested anymore. But you have to find someone who takes your complaints seriously, and don't give up until you find those individuals. And they may be, they may be physicians, they may be nurse practitioners, they may be naturopaths, chiropractors, but find those people who can assist you.
Yes, thank you. And I think that, having that diet and curing that leaky gut just really gives you a fighting chance. Like that was the impetus to my healing, was treating my gut. That was the very first thing I did. And then I kept seeking, and I put all the pieces together. It's a puzzle.
No, it is. I mean, I view myself as a detective, and that's really all I'm doing. And this was Hippocrates' dictum. Hippocrates believed and taught that all of us have this Verditas, green life force energy, which sounds really Californian, but he was from Greece, and that wanted perfect health, and that there were external factors that were preventing that person from having Verditas, or a green life force energy, from flourishing, and that the physician job was to find out what those external factors were and remove them, or teach the patient to remove them, and then the green life force energy would solve the problem. Yeah. And the longer I've done this, the more, that guy was a genius. He was absolutely right. All I do and all you're doing is saying, okay, here's some potential real mischief makers that are keeping you from having perfect health. And why don't you try getting rid of them? And I'm going to help you, because you're not going to be as miserable as you think you're going to be in terms of what goes into your mouth. And guess what? You're going to be a whole lot happier once we get rid of these guys.
Well, I know I am. And I dedicate my life to Jesus, but I dedicate my gut to Dr. G.
It's pretty heavy company, but thank you. I'm going to give you one more parting thing. I was reading to the staff here just before. I have a friend who's a very great attorney. He's not my attorney, but he's my patient and my friend. And he's just been plagued with gut issues and neurology issues, memory issues. And he's a young man. He's in his 50s. And people have been telling him, he's gone all over the country. And people have said, well, you got early dementia. This is probably early Alzheimer's. This is a 50-year-old high-powered attorney. And I know how he eats. And I finally talked him into doing these sophisticated gut tests. And we went over them literally 2 weeks ago. And we identified certain things that he really shouldn't be eating, including white potatoes, he really reacted to, and spinach, he really reacted to it. And so he wrote me a note, a message, and he said, look, thanks so much for going through with this. He says, I've been on this 2 weeks. I'm 90% better. And he said, I can't believe how bad I really was until I started feeling the way I feel now. He says, I can't believe how bad I was. I feel so good now. And I think that's true. So many of us, in so many things, we really are functioning at a much lower level, and we take that as, yeah, that's how I am. And the energy paradox, the next book is all about that. Most of us,
I can't wait.
Yeah, most of us have accepted being tired and not hitting on all 8 cylinders. So,
yeah.
All right.
Amazing.
Well, we really appreciate what you do. And folks, go sign up for her Instagram, go to her website, try a foodie box. It's really great. She does it seasonally. So, you don't have to sign up for the same old thing. Oh, here comes another one. But her granola is amazing. And the lobster mac and cheese. Oh, boy. Okay.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, Dr. G.
All right. Take care, Kristine. And keep up the good work, okay?
Okay.
All right. Take care. Time for the review of the week. This week's review comes from Garden Girl on YouTube, who says, thank you, all exclamation caps. I've been battling autoimmune issues for 10 years. They diagnosed it as sarcoidosis, affecting my skin, lungs, and eyes. I've had many eye surgeries and procedures in a fight to maintain my vision. I've tried every diet and supplement and protocol out there, and nothing worked until a random video of Dr. G came across my YouTube feed. I thought, who is this nutcase peeling his tomato? Well, I've been on the cleanse for just a few days, and I can feel this is going to work already. I can walk without pain. My skin is starting to clear, and my eyes feel better. All caps, thank you, Dr. G! Exclamation point. Well, thank you for telling me all that. This is, again, why I do this. This is why We produce these what seem like crackpot videos on YouTube. It's science-based, and it's based on 20 years now of my experience of patients just like you who have had, among other things, autoimmune diseases that seemingly are not fixable. And it's thanks to patients like you and thanks to you writing me that we're going to keep doing this and we're going to keep getting the message out, because I'm Dr. Gundry and I'm always looking out for you. So thank you, Garden Girl, and good luck. Before you go, I just wanted to remind you that you can find the show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Because I'm Dr. Gundry, and I'm always looking out for you.